is going to be drawing on some of the teachings that are in the month of the descent in her mystery school, and what that month is, what these sensibilities address are the times of life of a descent journey, meaning the times either in our personal lives or, for instance, right now as a whole culture, as a whole world, where we're facing an initiation that we didn't want and didn't choose, and therefore being asked to move into these deep feminine arts of surrender without submission, of soul forging, right? And of finding the current of resurrection and riding it through a descent journey, through a stripping away, right? So the words, the phrase that has come again and again for me as I've been preparing for this is a simple sentence, a simple imperative from our month of the descent, which is, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, then it is not for you, not when you are vulnerable. So again, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you. It has no place in your world when you are vulnerable. And the truth is that we are all far more vulnerable than we even imagine right now, right? We're feeling it. Right? It's clear for many of us how vulnerable we are, meaning how much in the unknown we are, right? How much we are being forced into recognition of our humanness, of our smallness, and then of the bigness that rises up inside of that, right? So if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you, not when you are vulnerable. And all of us are in an extremely vulnerable state right now. Vulnerability, the state of vulnerability, is the state through which greater power always comes. They are married. It's the natural law. You can trust that. You can trust that entering this level of vulnerability may be uncomfortable, but it has a full fruition inside of it. You are being forged. You are being brought closer and closer to what's more deeply true inside of you and what's more deeply true inside of life. However, what I want to so strongly bring you close to, what I want us to come close to together, is this imperative to take care of ourselves, to take responsibility for the choices that we are making to bring things into our lives that do not bring comfort and that do not bring clarity. There's a simplicity, and we need, in the disorientation of these times where we're surrounded by the unknown and there's complexity and all of this, what we need is, we need to know what to orient to. And those things are actually very simple. And it's their simplicity that makes them so holy and such sources of mercy and strength. So if it does not bring clarity, comfort or clarity, it is not for you, not right now, right? Maybe never, right? So what does that mean? If it does not bring comfort, if it does not bring clarity, right? In the face of all that you cannot control, there I'm sure is much happening right now that doesn't bring comfort or clarity to you, right? There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of that angst of forcible change, right? Forcible growth. So we're not talking about reaching out to try to control all the things we cannot control. Surrender is the first action when you're in a descent journey, which we're in. Surrender. This is what is, right? Conserve your power. Don't fight against what you cannot change. Find what it is inside of it that you can trust. And what you can trust in this time, in this movement, is that you are on a descent journey. It does have sacred context, right? It does have resurrection as its ultimate fruition, but it must be walked, and it will be thorough. A descent journey usually isn't a true descent journey. It isn't a true soul forging unless there is at least one moment or many moments in which you cannot see outside of it, right? We don't make a journey of descent with this really sweet little, part of us always feeling really positive about it and sure that everything is going to work out in the end. That's not a descent journey, right? When you're in the midst of a descent journey, when things are being stripped away and you're being brought face to face with a soul forging, there will be at least one moment, maybe many moments, where you cannot see your way out of it. That is part of the soul forging. That is part of the stripping away and the work that the descent journey does in order to kind of take from you things that you maybe valued, that you maybe really loved, but that actually weren't necessarily resting on a strong foundation, that weren't resting on the truth, right? It is going to take away your sense of false self-sufficiency. It's going to kind of force you into an interdependence that may or may not be comfortable for you, right? It's going to make you vulnerable, right? And in your vulnerability, in the sense of your humanity, the fact that you are facing death of all kinds, that you cannot, there are things you can't control, that there is a smallness in you, a tenderness that needs holding, that needs greater holding. In that, the descent you will have moments where you cannot see out of it. And I don't want to try to tell you that those moments are going to go away. I can tell you, absolutely, that yes, in natural law, the descent journey has a resurrection inside of it. That's where this is heading. That doesn't mean that's what you're always going to feel. And when you don't feel that, when you are in it and you can't see out of it and you can't quite feel into what's emerging in you and you can't quite find your strength or whatever it is, or you feel so alone, those times are not mistakes, right? That's a part of it. That has sacred context as well. Those are the deep, raw places where soul starts to really find its way up through coarser, more dense places that we've accumulated, right, over our lives. So when you are in that place, know that it's okay. It has sacred context. Even when it feels separate from the fruition of life and separate from the things that feel good to you, that doesn't mean that it's dissociated from it. It just means that's where you are in the journey. And this is when you turn to comfort, right? And you allow the guardian presence inside of you, you allow the soul warrior presence inside of you to protect you, to hold the gates around you. When you're in a state like that, if it doesn't bring comfort, it doesn't come in. You do not need to give it time. You do not need to allow in a bunch of things from the media. You do not need to allow in conspiracy theory. Anything that doesn't comfort you has no place in that, right? Because you are emerging. You are in a time of soul forging, and it deserves reverence and protection. So what is comfort? Comfort is many things for you, right? It's usually relational, right? Meaning you reach out to a friend, you reach out to a mentor, you rest into your bed and you let it hold you, right? You have a cup of tea, you open to nature, right? You read something that comforts you, right? A lot of times what comfort is in these moments, especially when it gets really deep, it's prayer. Speak out, or silently in your heart, reach out for the one who made you, the one who sustained you, the one who will bring you home at the end of all of this. You are not alone. And it's our reaching out and our opening to that presence that gives her the space to come in and come close. A lot of times, what a descent journey does bring, one of the beauties that it does bring, as it strips us of all the kind of false confidences and securities that do not last, that are not rooted in an eternal presence. A lot of times, the gift that it brings is it brings us back into an intimate connection with the grace of our own understanding, that presence. It pushes us so far into our need, into our true sacred need. And it strips us of all the ways we've distracted ourselves from it, or made it so that we, didn't have to face that level of need, that level of fear, that level of smallness. It strips us of those things. And in that, we can overcome what Pixie Lighthorse calls prayer trauma. That so many of us, through various experiences of religion or dogma, have been a little traumatized around prayer and unsure. How do you reach out? How do we? It's simple. You speak from your sacred need, right? And there are so many sacred needs coming alive in all of us right now. The need to feel intact, the need to know what the next right move is, right? The need to be fortified in the face of death and to understand, have comfort, to feel the mercy of the bigger picture, the bigger holding, right? So there are sacred needs coming up during this time. And I encourage you to allow yourself to be you'll be an instrument of power. You'll be an instrument of comfort and love. And we're all going to go through different embodiments at different times. When you are an embodiment of sacred need, honor that. And let it guide you towards comfort. Let it guide you towards words of true prayer, right? Those things that say, please be with me. Please show me. I can't see and I don't know, right? So when you are vulnerable, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you. When you are in a time of soul forging, right? Which we're all in. So that was comfort, some words on comfort, some words on clarity. All right, clarity. You do need your sober guardian presence, this awareness inside of you. We are officially in a heroes and heroines journey, right? We're being with something that we knew would come. We knew there was a big something coming. I'm almost 100% positive that if you look inside, you knew, you felt the lack of sustainability, you felt the pressure, you could feel it building, that something was coming. And now there's this pause, right? There's this initiation, and we're in it, and there is no escaping it. Yet another indication that we're in a descent journey. There is no escaping the descent journey. You just walk it. And walking it is what it is, right? We don't bypass it. We don't escape it. It will make it so that we have to walk it. And maybe we don't like that so much. And it can be scary and it can hurt. And yet it will take us somewhere that we've always wanted to go, if we allow it, if we align with it. Right? So clarity in these times, so important. Where are you going to most lose your clarity? Well, one place is going to be excess. And so I want to encourage you, invite you to get very stubborn and very radical around clarity. Meaning, guess what? You're not going to get the clarity that tells you this is what's happening and this is exactly what you should do and this is where it's all going. No way. We're in the unknown. We're going to be in the unknown for a while now. How you sit with the unknown is very much going to determine how the timbre, the way in which you move through this. What you're being initiated into, all of us, is a deeper level of that, how we sit in the unknown. So clarity is not going to come from control, and it's not going to come from excess and information. Clarity is going to come from you being willing to empty out, to release excess, and to allow what you know to actually come to the surface of you. Excess media, excess statistics, excess conflicting truths, right? Excess action, even excess good action, right? All the things that you know you should do to support your immune system, all the things that you should probably read, all the things that your friends are trying to tell you to make things feel better and make sure you're connected. To stay with clarity, you're going to need to honor that clarity comes from a certain amount of stillness and emptiness. Your clarity is not going to be able to get to you or to show itself to you when you're full of so many other things. So if it doesn't bring clarity, then I almost dropped the F-bomb. Then if it doesn't bring clarity, you push it outside of your gates. Okay. So I mean it. This is not a time. This is a time to yield, but it's not a time to submit. You must yield to what you cannot control, right? Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to blow yourself out and bleed out during this initiation. Ride the current of the initiation. Get on it, choose it, and take it. Don't act like you don't want this. Find what inside of you wants this and knows exactly how to get through it, because you're made for it. Soul forging is something we're all made for. Choose this initiation. That's where your greatest power is. And choose it, and then insist that nothing be with you if it doesn't bring comfort or clarity. To whatever extent, you have so much choice here in the face of all that you cannot control. And that is your power. That is you on the throne. Whatever it brings, yes, it's going to bring the death of a lot of things. It's going to bring change that you can't control. Your responsiveness and your ability to draw on deeper resource is what's being called for. So, clarity. Get your sword out. You don't have to entertain every conspiracy theory. It's not going to help anyway right now. You don't have to entertain every statistic, and you don't have to entertain every possible health action, everybody's possible emotion about this, right? Keep your vessel strong. And part of that has to do with keep it free of what isn't for you, right? And you know what that is. You can feel it. Something that brings comfort. Don't let yourself be fooled or distracted or kind of sabotaged by anything. This is a warrior's time. So you know if it doesn't bring comfort because it doesn't feel good. It feels like shit, right? It feels confusing. It feels like it's taking you away from yourself. It hardens you. It makes you afraid. It contracts you, right? Comfort. You know what containment is. You know what it is to be held in safety. You know what it is to feel protected. That's comforting. You know exactly what to move towards during these times. Let yourself do that, right? Same with clarity. As soon as something comes into your field or your awareness, you know if it's bullshit for you because it feels that way. Did it bring you to a sense of knowing? Did it bring you to a very specific action that you can take that you didn't already know that you need to take? Then maybe it's bringing clarity. Otherwise, it's just excess. And you don't have time for it because you're forging your soul right now. You have got serious work to do. You're in an initiation, right? Choose it. Take it. Why not? You have no other choice. This is not the first time for it to happen in your life, certainly not in mine, certainly not in the world, right? So it seems that I'm calling you forward this morning, and I'm telling you, enough already. Get your sword out. Keep it by you. That's what kind of time this is. That doesn't mean harden. In fact, it means the opposite. It means you're going to become more supple during these times. You're going to become a real warrior, right? All the ways in which you've been a warrior up until now that have been false yang, false expressions of the warrior, hardening, controlling, fighting, aggressing, gone. It's not going to help you. It is not going to help you, and you're going to be forced to recognize that. A true warrior is supple in her strength. She makes sure she's alive, that she's thriving, that she's solid inside of her power. She doesn't harden in order to express it. A warrior knows how much is out of her control. Almost everything, FYI, right? There is her realm of influence is what she has, and that's all that she has. So, my beautiful fellow warriors and warrioresses, this is where we are, right? And I know that there's deep vulnerability happening, and that's a good thing. That's what's going to keep your power real. That's what's going to open you to what's trying to open inside of you, right? The descent journey sucks every single time. It is not a journey of bliss. It is not the fulfillment of everything that you ever wanted. A descent journey is hard, right? We're talking about all the things, a pandemic, a divorce, death, right? Serious major illness, depression, right? On and on. I could go on and on, right? Always a descent journey is circumstantially not what you wanted. Nevertheless, when you surrender to it and you walk through the actual initiation that it's bringing, it will always bring you to greater love and greater power. That is its ultimate fruition, right? We give sacred context to the descent so we don't get lost in it, right? You will have moments where you feel completely disoriented, completely everything. You'll have those moments, but we give sacred context to the descent, and that's what means we don't get stuck in it. And that's what allows us to simultaneously be stripped bare and rise up at the same time. Because we know that the descent is part of a wider context. We know that sacred natural law always moves. Yeah, and yes, it moves through all the things, whether there's conspiracies, whether it happened for this reason or that reason, whether this is true or that is true. All the circumstantial truths that run on the surface of things cannot change natural law, and natural law will move. You will be initiated into something deeper than all the circumstances. That's what the descent does, right? It will bring you into greater love and greater power. So that's what we choose to align with today. Is the initiation. If it does not bring comfort or it does not bring clarity, it's not for you, not when you are vulnerable.